With the start of the new year, I think it's kind of important we touch on the subject of intention. I think that a lot of people attempt to be intentional with all their actions. We attempt to be intentional with a lot of the stuff, at least in thought. But I'm realizing intention is more so a present choice than it is a past intention. I feel like it's not really about how you think about stuff in the future or how you thought about stuff in the past, but how you think about it now. And I'm realizing that a lot of times we dampen our own intention and our own passion and discipline and drive to do anything and our inability to keep the same value of something. And when I say that, I'm really talking about how we diminish the value of things we see by familiarity. Like we have a certain goal, we have a certain aspiration, we do this certain thing in order to get it, and we know it's going to take time, we know it's going to blah, blah, blah. And in that, repetitive effort, repetitive trying, repetitive over and over again, we lose some of our passion. And I think that's because we're so taught and so fixed to be this outcome oriented society when a lot of us are, depriving ourselves of validation in the present moment. And I realize that depriving of validation, that depriving of self is what contributes to our undoing and what contributes to us not really being able to attain anything at all. I think everything at first has to be obtained mentally. I think everything at first has to at least be believed that it can be obtained by the person who wants to obtain it. And I think nothing is going to be implanted in your head that you cannot do. To know what's seemingly possible means you too can do it. So it's important to give yourself enough faith, enough validity, and most of all, enough space to actually do what you want. And that space I'm talking about is not necessarily just representative of the environment around you, but what's inside you. I realize our intentions sort of have to span within us if they want to have impact outside of us. You have to not necessarily change who you are, but make yourself the right person. I feel like a lot of us wait for the right time, but it's about being the right person to capitalize off of an opportunity that's there. And I don't think it's about waiting for opportunity. It's about recognizing it in the present moment. Recognizing your opportunity and chance to do whatever it is that you want, whatever it is can spiral towards your desired dream, occupation, desired whatever. Like I have my own dreams and aspirations, and none of which I feel like are achieved right here in the moment. I feel like, let me rephrase that. I feel like the final end goal that I'm hoping for is not what I attempt to achieve in the present moment. I recognize that certain things have to be done in order to get to that point, and the first step always reveals the second. And it's important to keep taking those individual steps and being present with them and having the gratitude and the feeling as if you are to achieve that certain something, achieve your end goal at that moment. Bring that future reality to this present moment in terms of feeling, in terms of vibration, in terms of whatever you want to call it. But I feel like at the end of the day, that's really how we get whatever we intend to get. By believing that we can and taking the steps to actually do it and doing our best in trying. I feel like a lot of us don't do our best because we feel like if we fail, then it's a representative of us. But I feel like if you don't try, if you don't put yourself in, then that failure is more representative of you than if you were to fail and try your best. And that's just to say that you have to put yourself in to get yourself out sometimes. I feel like the effort that I put into my day to day, my effort that I've tried to put in just to being present on a day to day is what allows me to continue to move forward. What allows me to keep pulling myself out of these situations that I come in, keep progressing, keep moving forward, and recognizing that, nothing is personal to me. I should make life intimate, but I shouldn't take it personal. Like, there are certain things that annoy me in my day to day, like if my brother's doing something or something I just don't like. But I'm recognizing recently that the more present I've been able to be, the more active I can choose whatever it is that I want. Like this morning, I was trying to meditate and he was blasting music. Okay, I have to recognize that, to some extent, I'm not the center. I'm not the center of the world. I'm not the center of everyone's experience. And it's important to recognize that not everything everyone does is intentional and everyone has their own complex life to live. It's important to give yourself that sort of intention to be present and intention to feel positivity whenever you want, whenever you can. And sometimes you have to just give that to yourself in the moment. Not everything has to be exactly how you planned it. You can't expect everything to work out exactly how you want it. But you can expect yourself to be there, and you can expect, yourself to have a positive mentality because you intend to. And I feel like when I say that, I'm not saying that stuff won't go in your favor or this is that and the other, but I'm saying that, there's a chance at everything. And I think it's important to embrace the chance of possibility, but that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge, danger. If I go out into the wilderness, I have to acknowledge that there's a chance of this, is that to happen, so I can be cautious, but not so I can live in that fear, not so I can live in that feeling, oh, this is gonna happen, but so I can be ready. And I think it's important to sort of treat the world like that, because I feel like a lot of us play defense from the world, and in a way, we attack ourselves because we put up this front acting as if we have to be protected, acting as if we have to constantly project this. Oh, if this happens, I have to be ready. But I feel like that takes us away from all the other possibilities. I feel like at the end of the day, it's just about being present. Present enough to see both good and the bad, and present enough to make the choice in what you want. A lot of times situations aren't necessarily life or death. A lot of times situations are very muddled up, problems within the head regarding our own insecurity and our own lack of validation for ourselves. So I feel like it's important to sort of be present with yourself in order to give yourself that validation. I feel like a lot of us play this performance until we realize we're performing, and then we don't know how to stop, catering to the audience. And I realize the only way is to really give yourself audience, to give yourself some type of mentality, give yourself some type of viewpoint that accommodates you and accommodates all your goals and your interests and this, is, that, and the other. I feel like life shouldn't be sort of lived in this backseat role, but we should treat it as if we're an active participant in the life we live, so we actually can experience what life is ourselves. So we can experience what's here, who's here, and what that means. Because a lot of us don't know, and I don't personally know all what it means. But all I do know is the best thing I can do for myself is be present enough to see. Present enough to see both myself and the way I interact with the world. Present enough to see pretty much everything that, corresponds. And that's why I feel like my intention for the year, my intention for my life so far has really just been to be as present as I can. Be present as I can to make any choice. And I feel like presence is what allows you to do anything good. Not good in terms of like good or bad, but good in terms of like doing it well. I realize that the people who are best at anything that they do are just able to be present with whatever it is the most. Like great pianists, great musical artists, great artists in general. I feel like the overzealous thought that we have around our world, around our intention, is what sort of takes away from us. And I think it's important to give ourselves something that allows us to take a step forward from our thought and be present enough with whatever we're doing to actually experience ourselves through it and be authentic through it. Truly give ourselves to the art, truly give ourselves to the life we live, and make it art itself. I feel like that's where the beauty comes in. That's where the true holistic, centered, the whole feeling of connected to everyone else comes. It comes in our contrast. It comes in our ability to differentiate, to make ourselves individual, and to truly be authentic to who we are. Everyone else is already taken. I think what makes, the certain picture fully beautiful is the contrast and the differences between each individual person and each individual thought. And that's why I feel like it's important to give yourself presence and give yourself some type of affirmation and love and care, so you grow into yourself. So you no longer need that dependence of an external audience. So you don't feel the need to perform in a specific way to feel good about yourself. And this isn't to say don't care what other people think, to the extent of you do whatever you want and morally da-da-da. Of course, be moral. Of course, understand how you work in a social setting. I think that it's very important to understand the difference between expression and embodiment. I think that your expression can be anything. Like, I can express myself in 100 different ways, and depending on who I'm talking to, I might express myself different. Like, if it's a very close friend, I might express myself this way. If it's just an acquaintance, I might express myself this way. But it's important to understand that your language is something you're speaking through. It's something you're using to express yourself, not necessarily just... It's something that you're using to express yourself and have conversation and understand the other. And I feel like if we want to come to any terms of understanding, it's about, understanding yourself enough to understand certain implications of your actions and certain ways in which, you need to articulate yourself, or you need to put yourself out there in order to truly be understood. And that's why I feel like a certain art or a certain creative thing or a certain thing you do needs to be done presently so you can better understand yourself. I think that expression to the self is one of the most important things in the world. And I think if we intend to just express to ourselves, then a lot of times all the weight of the external world sort of goes away, because it really just becomes you and then the situation. And I feel like if we can treat ourselves like a friend, at least on that accord, then a lot of our problems as it pertains to our self will just go away. And when I say go away, I don't necessarily mean disappear, but I feel like to heal anything, it has to be acknowledged. I feel like to go away is to understand how to move forward, and I feel like a lot of times we just have to be present enough to do that. And I feel like our mind doesn't always give us an answer, because sometimes our ego is attached to this issue, attached to our problem. So if we have any intention to leave anything in 2024, to leave anything in the past, our intention shouldn't necessarily just be to leave that in the past, but to be present enough to fill it with something new, to present enough to choose positivity this time, to make sure we're investing in ourselves and giving ourselves the correct, the love that we need in order to move forward. When we don't do that, then our intention should be basically nothing. If we don't have any enthusiasm, any drive, any care, any love, any support for ourselves and our endeavors and whatever we want to do, then there's no point in doing it at all. When we get to our end goal and we achieve this, and the other, if we weren't affirming ourselves while we were trying to get it, then that item is just an item. I feel like everything is always a representative of what it does for us. And I feel like if we are going to, do stuff for validation, if we are going to validate ourselves through material gain, through this, and the other, we have to recognize we have to give that validation to ourselves first. I feel like in that way we won't be dependent on that, in our authentic self, and in the way we express ourselves, and the way we love ourselves, and the way we care for ourselves will be more authentic, and we'll be more present enough to actually make change in the world. I feel like saying that the revolution won't be televised wasn't to say that, people won't come out here and talk about it, but to say that it's always been an individual thing. It's always been your battle over yourself that allows you to see the way in which certain things don't really make sense, the way in which we undervalue ourselves and undervalue others in our simple use of language and everything. So I feel like presence is always going to be the answer to, being better, because that's the only chance you get to see ways in which to be better. And talking about intention and talking about this new year, I know a lot of people are going to get into their resolutions. I haven't really, it's the 31st right now. I haven't really wrote any resolutions. I haven't really done anything like that. I've been, in this last month, I've just been trying to be more intentional and sort of live out my resolutions in the present moment. I realize that time sort of takes away from us in terms of how it blocks off certain things. When I say leave things in 2024, I'm really meaning like leaving it in yesterday. Letting yesterday be yesterday, and truly moving forward and being present with the present moment. Because I feel like the way we divide time sort of takes away from our ability to truly grow, because we consider it such a stark difference. Like who I am today, December 31st, and who I am tomorrow, January 1st. Of course, there's different, but the difference is gradual. It's not a stark change. It's not a grand change. And I feel like it's because we try to implement these grand changes that we forget to actually, work with ourselves and change out piece by piece and renovate part by part so we can actually encompass what it means to be new. I feel like a lot of times we try to throw away all our old bricks and try to build it up as quick as we can with something positive or with something in general, without realizing that we have to go get those other bricks back if we want to support the structure we have. I think a lot of us try to tear ourselves down and then try to build ourselves back up with the same old bricks. And that's why I feel like it's about being present and intentional with each and every part of yourself. I feel like it's not to say you can't just throw yourself away and become new, but you have to recognize that any type of newness and any type of life you want to give back to yourself has to be done by you. And I feel like being intentional and being present with yourself isn't about being negligent of yourself. It's about being aware. Recognizing the parts of ourselves that seek out change, the negativity, all the parts that are screaming at us to get out. I have my own things that I am working on. And I feel like the best way I've been able to work on them is to be present enough with myself to recognize my separation from the issue. Present enough with the situation to put myself into the situation so I can get myself out of it. And at the end of the day, doing my best. So even when I do come short, even when it doesn't work out in my favor, it still does. Because I'm the one doing it, I'm doing my best, and I put myself into it. And I feel like sometimes we have to learn to cheer for ourselves even through failure. We have to build ourselves up even when we fall down. And I think that's the most important thing, because when we get, in these spots of negativity and something negative happens and we choose to hark on ourselves negatively, then we lose everything we've tried to build. I feel like it's not about, letting everything fall over and just looking at it and connotating and looking on the ground and saying, oh, I didn't want to do that anyway, or I was never meant to blah blah blah. I don't think it's about that at all. I think it's about being present enough to recognize what it actually means, and sometimes a failure just means you failed. Doesn't mean you're a failure, it means you failed. And I think it's important to just bring yourself back to the present moment enough to give yourself enough positivity to move forward. Recognize that your intention and anything that you want is possible. And you should keep going to get it, keep doing whatever you want. Of course, be smart with your money, your financials, whatever. Take care of yourself. But recognize that your self-care isn't necessarily just about your money, but also your perspective of yourself. I feel like a lot of successful people are successful at first in mind, and it's important to give yourself that type of mindset that allows you to be successful, at least in your own point of view. So all in all, I think intention is one of the most important things for this new year. Being intentional with our actions, being intentional with our words, and our care for ourselves, and making sure that we're here enough to actually be here. You're where your feet are, in a way, or you're present enough to see your steps so you don't walk in the wrong direction. All in all, just be intentional. I hope you guys have a great new year. Many blessings to you all. Go ahead and leave your resolutions in the comment if you made it this far. If not, you don't have to do that. But thank you all for supporting me this year. 2024 was beautiful. So thank you guys again. I really do appreciate all of you. Lots of love for you. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're doing what you can, what you have. And this is coming on the first. Okay. Dang. All right. So I'm about to drop my podcast channel. Probably in the community post on the first. If you guys want to check that out, please do. I'm going to try to be more consistent over there too with my sit down podcast with my other friends and my peers and whatnot, so we can get a more, broad understanding of, things to ponder, things to think about. So thank you again. Keep me great. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And